Unella, you and Blackwell, are you interested in coming to?
I'm sorry, I missed that. Coming where I went to get my
So
tea.
yeah. So in June, our June meeting on the Wednesday, the second Wednesday, our meeting is going to be at the Major R. Owens. And we've been given permission to do a tour of the housing component, for people to be able to see a couple of the apartments, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, like that. So we need to know how many people are going to be showing up so that they can plan accordingly. So do you think you guys, I know Unella's coming.
That's on the 4th.
It's on the second Wednesday of June.
Are we given the tour, Bevy? Because I mean, we could, given the fact that,
Given that, yeah, we could, right? But given the fact that they communicate with, yes, it's on the 8th. There's the key fob that they need to get into the room.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to give us that. So
they just have to let us in.
Right, and he's going to know which apartments are
available,
haven't been occupied, right? Haven't been occupied. But we need to know how many people are going to show up so we can prepare accordingly. You know how they are.
I know. Okay.
But I know you coming, Unella. Blackwell, you coming?
I thought you could hear me, but I see I was muted. I was talking the whole time.
Oh, Blackwell, I'm so sorry.
That's it.
I'm so sorry.
I say, God's willing, I will be there as long as my health permits.
Thank you. Because even though I think it's the third building. It's the third building, right? Unella's almost done. There are a lot of people who haven't seen the apartments yet. So as a housing committee, I think it's important that we.
You've seen it already, Beth, and Unella?
Yeah, Unella and I went, yeah.
How big are the rooms?
They're so small, Blackwell.
I know, like little closets, right? That don't make no sense.
It reminds me of a college dormitory for freshmen.
Oh, God.
I wouldn't say there's. I would say that based on our buildings, because our buildings are the older buildings. They were built
Where they knew you needed room to live.
Yes.
You still need room. Okay. So, because Unella's trying to be extremely generous, but this is the reality of it.
Isn't she always?
The reality of it is this. One, it might fit a full-size bed, 60 by 80. It might.
That's a problem by itself.
Yeah, exactly. But even if it does that, do not look to have dressers. You know how we have dressers in our bedroom right now? Do not look for that. Don't look for that.
Okay, Bev, I got it. It's like a college dorm. Okay.
That's what I said.
It's not that bad because it's geared to enjoying the amenities on the outside and downstairs.
Oh yeah, the community room downstairs is huge because they're counting. And I must admit, the appliances.
No, I'm talking about the private space.
No. Give that up. And it's not made. You know how apartments are made to raise families? It's not made for that.
But it depends on how many people are in your family.
Okay. Husband, wife, no babies.
Hell, if you can only fit a small bed in there, what do you mean husband, wife? Look, the bed you said, that ain't big enough for me by myself.
I think they
want to share.
I think at some point people want to downsize, and that's just perfect. Right, Bevy?
Again, he's being extremely optimistic. Why did she say right, Bevy, when she knows?
Ever the optimist.
Not in agreement. Yes. There are some things I'm extremely optimistic about. This is not one of them. You know what it does? You know the HUD guidelines where it says 500 square feet HUD's requirement apartments should be at least 500 square feet.
Mhm.
Right. They went by that. They they said, okay, this is what we're required to do. This is what we're going to do. But I got to admit,
Yeah,
the
because on
appliances-
paper it made a lot more sense dollar-wise.
yeah,
Listen,
but in real life,
The space that the view makes up for everything else.
Oh, please.
thank you, Blackwell.
And
Thank
the
you.
amenities, I mean.
Good
Wait a
evening,
minute.
ladies. Can I ask a question?
I seen, these are
Yeah.
not the apartments we've seen before.
Blackwell, we have a guest
Hello.
that's want to ask.
Yes, go ahead. Ask your question.
Ladies, good evening. You guys meeting start at 7:30?
No, it starts at 7. We're giving 2 more minutes. We'll start. It gives people time to come in. May I
Okay.
have your name, please?
Jameson.
You're the Black Home Ownership President? Okay.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Me too.
Yes.
Good evening,
Uh,
everyone.
Thanks for coming.
Good evening.
Yes.
Thank you for waiting. We're just a little, just give us a few more
2
seconds.
more minutes. Yeah.
Time. Thank you.
So what were you gonna say, Blackwell?
I was just saying that's not enough room.
No, I
No.
didn't think so.
You talking about husband and wife, I decided it wasn't enough room for a single.
Right.
Without a partner, so with a partner, that really be too cramped. You guys sometimes.
But the
walk away.
amenities, just like Unella said, I mean, you have one of the apartments has washer and dryer stacked, and then another one has washer and dryer one component, and so that means you have room inside of the closet for storage, like detergent and stuff like that. And then you have microwave, you have refrigerator, dishwasher, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So they put the effort into the amenities
And not the space.
and not into the floor space, right? Not into the square footage. And they put it into the public space downstairs.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, it looks like a college dorm, freshman.
I hear you.
But I can see, or like Unella said, say for instance, you have seniors who are downsizing, that's perfect for them too.
Well, yeah,
They've
I'm
already
sure
had a
there's
private-
a whole group that
Right.
would be fine in that setting.
Right.
Yeah, a
Right.
college student, someone downsizing for the smaller
Right.
space. Yeah,
That's
and they're
perfect.
convenient. Yeah.
That's perfect for them. So it's 7:15. We have our guest. Hi, good evening, Miss Janice. How are you?
Hi there, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
So we have a presenter this evening. Thank you, everybody, for setting aside time to join us tonight, because we have a presenter who is going to talk to us about Black home ownership. And his name is Gabriel Jameson. Mr. Jameson. Mr. Jameson,
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
are you ready to begin your presentation?
Yes, I am. I'm excited.
Okay.
Yes. I can start it now?
Yes.
Okay, let me share my screen. Share screen. So sorry. So, hi everyone. My name is Gabriel Jameson. I work at the Center for New York City Neighborhood. Tonight, I will be presenting to you guys about the Black Homeownership Project. Once again, my name is Gabriel Jameson. I'm a Morgan Stanley Fellow. I'm doing policy and research. I'm an NYU student studying real estate developing. I'm asking for just some facts about me. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm from Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York. And outside the work that I'm doing here, I'm also an environmental advocate. So that's just about me. I'm going to be touching on about the Black Homeownership Project. So what is the Black Homeownership Project? The Black Home Project was started in 2019 and researching why New York City experienced a decline in Black homeownership. It came out of the Equitable Blueprint Project. I'm going to show you my 3 categories of my research, and I'm also going to talk to you about, if you look at this graph over here, you can see through the Black homeownership from 2002, from 2017, from 2002, we had 210,000 homes. From 2017, we have 82,000 homes. You can see that's 20,000 of a decline of Black homeowners that just disappear in New York City after over a 15-year period. If you look at this graph over here, this graph, so this is a 15-year period and it's 20,000 of these homes just disappear. So this is how much homes we got right now, 2017. And it might be less than that now because we're in 2022. So my research falls into 3 different type of categories. One is outreach. One is this pilots and intervention. 2 is outreach and awareness, and 3 is legislation. It's really important to know that. That's what my research falls back into. So the BHP project are 10 altogether. There are 10 brand new interventions. But right now I'm only going to talk about the first 5 interventions. I didn't do no research on these. So the first 5 intervention is called Down Payment Assisted Navigation, Saving Accelerator, Homeowner and Landlord Service, Pathways to Tenants Purchase, and Generation State Planning. These services right here, these interventions and pilots are up and running. So what that means that the Center for New York City Neighborhood, you guys can actually take, this is the opportunity where you could take the opportunity to get these resources. So these are a lot of resources at the Center for New York City, agency, and you can actually take on these resources at the hub. So the hub would navigate you through any of these resources if you're interested in. Through my research, this is the research that I've done, I focus on 5 new pilot interventions, and new ones are FHA reform, cooperative fair housing, anti-discrimination, credit building, holistic counseling and senior homeowners, and peer-to-peer counseling. So the first one is FHA loan. How does it affect Black homeowners? So we're going to just talk about a little bit about that. FHA, what is FHA? FHA is a federal housing loan that is federally backed through a mortgage designed for homeowners who may have lower than average credit score. FHA require lower than minimum down payment and low credit score than many average conventional loan. In our research, what we found out, we see that 45% of Black constituents turn to FHA compared to their white counterparts. So we go to FHA majority of the time than any other people. And we know about FHA because it comes with it comes with our job. We heard about a first-time home buyer. A lot of us like it, but FHA has a little bit of problems. So the goal for this intervention, what we wanted to do, honestly, the intervention that we came up with, we wanted to come up with a way where we do not have we wanted to come up with a way where we as home buyers do not have to pay more money, because FHA usually have a mortgage insurance premium. So FHA like to put more of a financial burden on people that come from low income neighborhood because they have to pay the insurance premium. So the goal of this intervention was to eliminate the insurance premium, and in exchange for first time home buying counseling. That was pretty much the goal of this, honestly. There are policy that needs to be passed, that was passed already, but right now the bill is sitting there dead. So some of the policy that can solve this issue is called the Housing Financial Literacy Act of 2019. This is a bill that's actually can solve this problem and remove the mortgage insurance premium and introduce more of first-time home buying counseling. We think education is really the key. But this bill is just sitting there dead, honestly. So right now, this is a perfect time to actually get this bill up and running, and through advocating, get it to be reintroduced to the Senate floor and the Congress, because right now we control both houses. So this is right now, both Democratic parties are in charge. So this is the bill that could get passed, and it will help all type of people. So that's what FHA is really about. So how does cooperative housing affects Black homeowners? We're gonna talk about that. So cooperative housing is a type of housing owned by cooperatives made up of owners within a co-op. a home buyer a share of cooperation that controls cooperative with, entitles them to live in space within the building. We all know what cooperative housing is. If you don't know what cooperative housing is kind of like stocks. You know, you have a company, you buy stocks, you own a share of the company, but you don't own the company. Similar way, this is just a housing style that we have in New York City. It's kind of like stocks. I'm gonna just tell you some facts about cooperative housing and some of the issues that we face. So if you look at New York City, you look at other states, just the makeup alone of New York City, the housing makeup, New York City has majority of our housing stock is made up of cooperative housing. In any other state, you would not see that. But New York City, we see majority of our housing stock out of cooperative. Another fun fact about cooperative is that cooperative is actually one, compared to their other brothers and sisters of pathways to homeownership, cooperatives are the most affordable. I will show you a slide about that in a little bit later, how affordable they are. But the problem that we see with cooperative in our research, that we see that even though we're living in 2022, cooperative boards and condos have a lot of discriminatory practices. And it doesn't make sense. You would think because we got a lot of policies in place, New York City has a lot of policies talk about, oh, you know, one cannot discriminate. That's just bull crap. That's not true. People are being discriminated against right now, and no one's not doing nothing about it. So honestly, the goal of this legislation is to create comprehensive legislation that does not maintain the rigid borders of systemic racism. So we would like to create legislation that's going to be more transparent with the cooperatives, with co-ops and condos boards, because they have a lot of discriminatory practices. And you would think that this doesn't exist, but it's going on right now in our city, and no one doesn't have nothing to do. No one's not doing nothing about it. But there is some good news. So ex-assembly member, Nick Perry, I'm glad that he moved on. Assemblyman Nick Perry, and I think Brevin Kavanaugh just introduced a bill to the Senate or the Assembly. They introduced a bill, but we don't know what's going on with the bill. The goal of the bill is to do more transparency, to figure out why these people are being denied. And once we figure out why these people are being denied, then we know how to advocate and get more diversity in this. Because like we said before, the majority of New York City housing stock is cooperative, and cooperative is way more affordable. And if the goal is to combat the racial wealth gap in our communities, this is a pathway to do that. And cooperative needs to be more diversified and needs to have more Black and brown people in it. So thank you. I'm going to show you a slide. If you look at this slide right now, this example diagram, you really will see that this is the affordability of each of these things. So condos really cost like $1 million. One condo costs $1 million. There are some affordable condos, but a typical condo costs $1 million. A multi-family house costs around $613,000. So that's like in the middle. But if you can see, ding, 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 the number right here, cooperative. These are all passed to homeownership, but the cooperative is way more affordable. It's around $450,000. And if we're going to really, like we said before, the goal is to really combat the racial wealth gap and to get more diversity in home ownership. And cooperatives is one way we can do that, and it's affordable, honestly. So cooperatives are way more affordable, and it's actually beneficial that we can push on wealth to our children. So we like to push for more transparent legislation that we could get more diversity in cooperative boards. Thank you. So how does credit affect Black homeowners? Let's start there. What is credit building? So credit building is when a customer attempts to positively improve their credit profile. I'm gonna just tell you some little facts about this. The reason why this is really important, because as we all know, without credit building, without having a good credit profile, you can't get anything. You can't get no house, you can't get anything. You need credit. Credit is really the key to everything, honestly. But through our research that we found, BIPOC, that stands for Black community, and Black people, Indigenous people of color, we realized that our research shows that communities of color lack access to credit. So that's one problem. So that's one of the data points that we see. Another point that we see, that Black and Latino people feel that there was a lack of financial education. This is a big problem, and we're going to jump into that a little bit later. 54% of Black Americans report that they have no credit. That is terrible, and that's just across the nation. That's not even New York City, just across the nation, 54. So what does that tell you? We're not on the path. Honestly, if we don't have credit, we can't do nothing. So intervention that we came up with, honestly, was we wanted to report. We know that African-American people are always going to pay their rent. Black people are going to pay their rent. That's one thing they're going to do. So what we realized, what we wanted to do, honestly, we came with intervention to report our rental payment to the credit bureau to improve our credit profile. If we pay our rent, we know we're going to pay our rent, and we know it makes most sense. If you're not going to really think about credit or paying credit, if we pay our bills, like how we pay our bills every month, honestly, we could just use that as a waiver to report our credit. It makes sense. And just a fun fact behind this, other states do this, not in New York and California. That's the whole point, of trying to bring this concept here and bring this model here with landlords and stuff like that. But it's a state in America that does this, and it actually works out. The numbers on this intervention actually works out really well, and people have better credit score. They have high credit scores, and they move up through social mobility. So that's what credit profiling is about. If you look at the data right here, this is just a graph that shows you low, medium credit score to high, medium credit score. This is really important because my neighborhood is actually on this, so sad, and a couple other communities on this. So if you look at the low income neighborhoods, Rockaway Avenue, the credit score, the typical credit score over there is 578. If you look at Bayside, Little Neck, their credit score is 752. My neighborhood's right there, Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York, 592. And Upper West Side is 751. Even though we know the data, and this is all based on data profiling, and stuff like that, we can tell through this data based on who lives in these neighborhoods. And based on who lives on this neighborhood, you can tell who's Black, who's brown, and look at the affluent. On this side, this is a community that's more affluent because you can look at their credit score. You can look at this community. These are communities that are more poverty stricken. But the good news behind this, now that we know that the data behind this, and we know interventions behind this, what we could do, and that makes sense, like we said before, a lot of Black and Latino community realized that they lack education behind this. So now that we know better about this, honestly, the goal is to really educate communities of color about credit. Because honestly, we never understand the concept of credit, how credit is used as a vehicle, as a tool. So we are educated on things, we could do better on things going forward. Because it deals with education. We don't know anything about financial literacy. You're never going to do better behind it. This community is more educated. This community might lack the education on it, and that's the problem, because they lack the education. It's not their fault, it's by design. But now that we know better, we could actually do better. So, next one, how does senior special affects Black home buyers? Let's get into this. So, Senior Special is an advocacy campaign aimed to provide financial literacy for Black senior homeowners, to educate them on the benefits of estate planning, tax abatement, and wills, and other issues related to housing. I just want to hit you with some facts, a lot of facts with this. When I think about this in our community, a lot of our communities that are Black and brown are made up of a lot of seniors. There's nothing wrong with our seniors, but a lot of predatory companies come into communities of color, and they know, because the next generation is not there, and a lot of our seniors are there, they know they can prey on our seniors, and it's not cool, it's not nice. And we also learned that a lot of our seniors will be transitioning out. Sometimes our seniors buy property, granddad, grandma, auntie, they buy the house, and they might be transitioning out of the house because they get into that age, they're getting old, they have disabilities, or et cetera. We don't really know and plus they're retired. Some of them are retired, they got pensions. So when they was younger, they could build a house, they could have a house, but now that they're getting older, they don't have so much time for a house, to be honest. So what we learned through the data point, we learned that 40% of New York City housing stock was built in the 1930s. So what that means, a lot of our buildings are not ADA friendly for our seniors in general. So if you have a disability, you might need ramps, you might need, what is it called? Oh my God, what is it called? The handrails and stuff like that. They're not friendly. They might not be wheelchair accessible, all these things. Then a lot of these housing stock is not made that way. Another problem, we see that a lot of Black New York seniors are at a double higher poverty rate compared to their white senior partners. That's another problem that we see. We also see that tax liens disproportionately affects Black seniors because, like I said earlier, that our community are usually get prey on. A lot of predatory people come in these communities like to prey on our seniors. This is really important because the whole point of this intervention, honestly, is to provide free legal services for our seniors. And the reason why we say that, because we have to protect our seniors. Whatever our seniors have passed on, when they pass on, I'm not talking about passing away, but if they leave, move on to another house, whatever, you have to protect them because that's Black wealth. That's a lot of Black wealth. And we can see in our community that people exploit us a lot in our community. So how do we make sure we protect granddad, grandma, houses, stuff like that? And the point of this intervention is really about how do we create wills. In the Black community, we're not planners, not all of us, but many of us, we're not planners. We're not planning for wills, we're not planning for estate planning. So a lot of our properties get stolen. People come in, they exploit. Just like 2 years ago, I remember Attorney General Tish James did a big free campaign about deed theft because a lot of people was coming in communities of color, stealing people deeds and running around, stealing people deeds and stealing people houses. And it's not a cool thing. So we really got to be organized. We really got to we have to be organized, but we really got to set their wills in place and have estate planning. And also a lot of our seniors, they don't even know that in the community that they live in, when you get to a certain age, you get a tax abatement. You don't have to pay so much credit. If you have property tax, you get a tax abatement on that. A lot of our seniors do not know that. Like, they don't have to pay the same rate that they was paying before. So it's really about giving them this education, giving them the legal advice, and putting together plans and wills for them. So in case that we can preserve this Black wealth, honestly, and making sure people are not predatory and trying to take our Black wealth, because this is what it starts with them. So that's what Senior Special is really about. The last one is peer-to-peer counseling. How does it affect Black homeowners? So peer-to-peer counseling consists of workshop prioritizing homeownership, protecting local level, which is hosted by network community-based organization led by co-led Black captains, trusted leaders in our community. Just to summarize this in simple terms, if you don't know what that means, basically this is effectively organized power. So we live in communities as homeowners. We got to stick together. We got to look out for each other. We got to stick together. The goal, if I live on this block, you live on this block, we should all be sharing information each other. We need to be organized, because create organized power and then understand what are our rights as homeowners? What are our rights as being landlords? Maybe you're a landlord, maybe you're a homeowner, but what is our rights, honestly? And really just like, if I got information, I share information with my neighbor, I share information with my neighbor behind us, because really we're trying to build this sense of community, not just community, we're trying to build a sense of power, community power, honestly, because homeowners look out for each other. Just like you got other demographics, other communities look out for each other, they look out for each other, but creating that sense of organized, proud, like a union, like a Black union that's dealing with home ownership. That's really the goal of peer-to-peer counseling, honestly, and really creating that community power. Because honestly, when people come in your community, y'all should all know what's up. If you think about other nosy neighborhoods and African communities, they don't play that in their neighborhood. They already know if this person don't live here. I know this person don't live here because everyone in the neighborhood know each other. They got like their own little text thread. They're all communicating with each other. So this is what pretty much peer-to-peer counseling is really about. We think this works out a lot, and it does, because if you ever looked in Brownsville community, it's something called EBC. If you know what EBC, that's East Brooklyn Congregation. That's what they do. They have organized power. So trying to take the model of that and bring it to all communities that have home ownership, and that's really the key. So thank you. In conclusion, why is it important for Black New Yorkers to gain access to home ownership? I have 3 little questions. So I say wealth, pride, dignity, and legacy. For me, I was lucky. I would just tell you my opinion. I think it's really important for us to gain this because I was lucky. My parents own a home. I'm from Brownsville, Brooklyn. I own a Nehemiah home. And I think it's really about, honestly, it's about wealth. You know, honestly, the goal of this, if you look, I don't know if you ever looked up the data behind this, but the data shows one white household has $171,000, just one white household. The average African-American household has, guess how much? $17,000. That means we're poor. And that's a problem, honestly. You know, like we need to really solve that. And the way how we solve that, we could go to school, I'm educated, whatever, or go to trade school, whatever. But really how we going to solve that, we have to get access to wealth. And as I know that there's been systemic issues that blocks us, big some redlining, stuff like that. But this generation, the generation before, we have to get access to wealth, and wealth is really ownership. We have to own our neighborhoods. Honestly, we can't allow people come in. You have to own the neighborhood, and through home ownership, that's the one way. Honestly, that is the way. It's not one way. That's the only way. Wealth, that's how you're going to combat the racial wealth, and it's a surprising thing. From immigrants that come here, from migrants that come up, that's the American dream, like owning a house. And it's the last thing I would sit there say is legacy building. How do we build legacy? How do we make sure we are passing that down to the next generation? A lot of people that's rich today, it's not because they're rich because they did, they're rich because they had wealth and they passed it down. And now that property is worth X amount of dollars, even though they bought it back in the day when it wasn't worth. So that's really the key. If you would like to contact me, you can contact me at the Center for New York City Neighborhood. This is my email address. I'm going to post it in the chat. And I also like to ask you guys, if you guys don't mind, it's really important. Can you guys fill out my survey? This is really important because those 5 new interventions I was talking to you about are really important for us to get funding. It's not really funding, but for us to really advocate and get funding for this. And if you like these interventions, you can tell us which ones you like through the survey and tell us which one is a priority. What do you think is top priority that needs to be done? If this is not a priority, this is a good priority, it's no best, let's tell us, because if we don't know, this project is really about Black people. How do we expand and help Black people that have been historically disadvantaged of? And this is what this project is really about, and this is to combat the racial wealth gap. So I'm gonna just pick this survey and put the survey and put my contact in the chat, and you guys can send out your survey and also email it to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabriel. Dante, could you send the survey to, since we're not able to access it?
Yes.
Could
Gabriel,
you send it to all of our email addresses, please?
yes, can you send it to me? Question, can we get a copy of the presentation?
Yes, you can. I'm about to go to email you it today, right now. It's funny.
Perfect, yeah. If you could just send this to me, I will make sure that the folks on the call get it. The housing committee members and the community resident members will get it. If you're a member of the public and you would like the presentation, you can call our board office or email the board office and we will make sure that you get it as well. Thank you.
Gabriel, before you go, do you have a moment to address questions?
Yes. I was actually going to stay for questions, to be honest.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I heard you. Does anyone have any questions for Gabriel?
I do. I don't have a question. I just want to say that you did a wonderful presentation, Gabriel, and the importance of predatory abuse by people, seniors getting their property taken away. It's real. It's real. I think that the majority of the houses that are lost in Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights alone in Brooklyn, I think a lot of that is due to predatory practices. And also, I just want to say that this plight of the generational Black wealth is nationwide. It's happening in Chicago. It's happening all across the country, Detroit, everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? So Gabriel, I have a question. When we're talking about the struggle that people of color are in regards to maintaining home ownership or acquiring home ownership, and just to be clear, when we talk about home ownership, we're including all facets: cooperatives, condominiums, single family homes, landlord of a multiple family dwelling. We're talking about all of that, correct?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. This is not just for single family houses. It's for all. If we're Black people, we own property. We are homeowners or we're landlords, whatever we are, but we own it. So that's what it's really about. It's not just for a single family, but we're really trying to get combat the racial wealth gap. That's what this whole project's really about, honestly, preserving and expanding Black wealth.
So how is your organization? Because I noticed your the data you were showing us was from 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Is it including, because gentrification was in full blown mode then? Is it including that?
So the data includes. Go ahead.
Because if we're talking about, from what I've seen, if we're talking about communities of color being able to stay communities of color and acquiring wealth, the average home where Community Board 9 is, we're in Crown Heights. The average home is $1.2 million.
I know.
And this is single family. So that's what I was noticing. The numbers that we were looking at, they weren't there. So I'm asking, is gentrification included in that? how now something that was once in our reach in Crown Heights is no longer in our reach? Is all of that part of that?
Yes, all of that is definitely part of the research, but like all of that is definitely a part of the research about what we found out, honestly, why people are losing their homes. Honestly, it's a lot of different factors that plays into this. It's gentrification. It's just a lot of predatory practices. A lot of African-American people don't have money saved up. So it's like, if this was any other community, the city actively protects these communities as homeowners if there was a different color. But when it comes down to Black and brown people, we don't actively protect Black and brown wealth because I guess they don't think that we deserve Black and brown wealth. So it's a lot of different factors that plays into this. And even this is not nothing new. This is even deals with historic issues, redlining. You know, honestly, when you think about redlining, what happened in the past, how Black people couldn't even get access to certain homes and stuff like that, or certain mortgages. But then when they finally did, it's like, oh, they changed up. So this is a lot of systemic racism that's being into play, and it's just constantly turning the needle left to right. So we never really get a break to catch up, honestly. But this is really why we need to push for this, and the city needs to create like a homeowner. I think the goal is really to create like a homeowner's office that deals with equity and inclusion for homeowners. Like we need to prioritize. No offense to people at NYCHA, we prioritize NYCHA, but we don't prioritize homeowner. And to be honest,
we don't. Well,
I won't even say that. You're right. We don't prioritize nobody. You got it. But we prioritize. No. Let me clear this up. We prioritize renters more than we prioritize homeowners. We need to prioritize homeowners too, because homeowners have taxes. Taxes generates money for the city. It's really important, and we really need to prioritize Black homeowners. How do we protect them?
And I have a personal question of you. How did your parents educate you or position you to be able to take over their home when they move to someplace else?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I think like we just know, my siblings, so we just know that we're going to, when time comes, we are going to take the mantle of this after the day, you know, making sure that we're all stable, that we can take over the house after the day if we want to take over the house. But like, I think ownership has always been the key in my household. Like we always knew that. And that was only through organizing through EBC, you know. If you know they needed a history about Brownsville and how Brownsville people got their chance of home ownership was because Black and brown people organized for it. Like that's how we got it, honestly. They wasn't trying to give it to it. The mayor at the time was Mayor Scott. He was racist. He didn't want to give Black people no land. Honestly, only when Black people was going to move to Canarsie in the white neighborhood, that's when they was like, oh, no. We're going to give them some lot over here. We're going to build some Nehemiah homes, build some houses for them.
Because that's one of the things I'm noticing as well, and I'm sure all of us in the room are noticing it too, is that a lot of the homes are being consumed by developers because the generation after the parents.
If I don't think
children,
you see Nelly keep putting her hand up to speak.
I don't see that.
Yeah, that's why I'm making you aware, dear.
Okay, thank you.
No, I was trying to hand up, Bev.
Huh?
I was trying to put my hand up for a question when you
Sorry,
finished.
Unella. Okay, so
Go ahead.
That's one of the things that we're noticing. Many of the homes after the parent has passed away are being sold by the children. That's why I'm asking, how did your parents educate you or position you? So you've already told us. So Unella, go ahead and ask your question.
I have kind of twofold questions, or two different questions, I should say. Good evening, and thank you. Very good presentation, and you know, it's very good information for us as you know, in our community and people of color to take heed and do what is necessary. But the first question is with the lottery. The lottery does not really well. In some ways is not geared towards you know, most of us, because as from what I understand, you could enter the lottery from anywhere. How do you see that, you know, affecting us, you know, getting home ownership and as well?
I think, so I'm going to answer a piece of that question. I think honestly, we never really had a push for home ownership in New York City. Never been a push. We push more affordable housing and not affordable home ownership in New York. We don't do that at all. So that's one piece of the question. But the lottery question, I think honestly, the way how it's like the way how we do it in New York, I mean in Brownsville, it's like the churches are organizing behind this, like EBC organized this. But that's just one model. I really don't know how the lottery system works. I know that, but I know my parents did it with a lottery. Hey, you got it, and you had to have the money and stuff like that. But we have to come up with better systems behind that, and I could get more information on that for you if you want. If you reach out to me, maybe I'll have one of my colleagues can really better answer that question. But like I think the really key question, honestly, we never really had a real push for homeownership. We push for affordable housing, and what is affordable?
Right. Thanks. That's good. And I live in a co-op, and you know, this co-op is an older co-op,
Mm-hmm.
and it's mainly Black owned.
Okay.
We all have shares, and we have our board of directors, as you say. But one of the issues that I find is, as Beverly was saying, is kind of situating the younger generation that's coming up in order to take on ownership as we get older.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it's a difficulty for us to, you know, to get the younger folks on track, to say, you know, 5, 10, 15 years from now, you know, would like it to remain, you know, with the same family or generation that's been going on for years. And that's a little difficult in us trying to organize that. Is there any ideas that you could have to give us? Because we're open to anything.
I think I can't. That's really a good question, because I really don't know how to tell your children to own a house. Like, my mom giving me a house, I'm going to be ready for it. Like, hey, you better be prepared. I think, oh man, I really don't know how to answer that question. I really don't. How do you get your parents? How do you get your children to want to own a house?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think really push. I think honestly having that conversation, like, what people don't know about wealth building and just in general, like the work that you and your husband or whoever, I don't know, took to build this house or get this house. Honestly, we can't just give this away. Like, we need to own this. Right. We need to keep this forever. And because this adds up with wealth, this, you know, eventually it gets wealth. So it's really important. I think we got to really teach our children like the important it is. This is not easy. This is not something that you could just get overnight. Like, this takes time, and you need to carry that torch of this. So pass the torch and make sure that they know that this is really important. This is important, because with this, you can take the equity out of your house, the equity out of the co-op, and you can go open up a business, or you can go buy another property. Mm-hmm. You know, this is how other communities do things and get more money and leverage. Equity home ownership is about leverage. How do you leverage what you have to get more? It's like Monopoly. If you ever played the game Monopoly, this is what Monopoly is about. You buy one, next thing you buy another one, the next thing you buy the Red Hotel. Right. We have to teach our children about that. And that deals with financial literacy, honestly. Being educated on these things, why it's really important. Because we always tell our children going to college, it's not the wrong college, like, to combat the racial wealth gap, it's through equity. It's not through education. Education can only give you social mobility, but doesn't give you wealth. It doesn't help you do with wealth. Ownership does. Equity. Equity is the key.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think most of these people problem is consistency and pride. They're not instilling that in these children today, and all seems to be almost at a loss. It's scary.
You know what I would say? You know why it's so interesting for me? But that's the last thing I'll say. You know why it's really interesting? Because I know the history. Because I know what my people did to get this house, like in Brownsville. Mm-hmm. I know it was racism to behind these houses and stuff like that. And I know that my mom and my neighbors, they organized. My father, they organized. They was out there on the ground arguing, because there was black not wealthy, but black middle class people that was in Brownsville that wanted to leave out of NYCHA, wanted to move out of NYCHA. And this was their shot. And when they was going to move into neighborhoods like Canarsie didn't want them. So they organized with the churches, EBC, or with churches, to get these plot of land. So I think it's really about, when you know that history, it's kind of like when you know the history about your people, where you're from, you realize, like, you don't take things for granted like this.
Your parents showed you consistency and mm-hmm. maintain that consistency on that level, which is a wonderful thing. But today, you don't see that in kids. These parents want to be their kids' friend. They don't want to be a parent. They don't want to prepare them for tomorrow. They want to get through today.
So I have a question, Gabriel.
Yes.
you said earlier that education is not necessary, college is not a necessary part of this. How would, I'm going to be a homeowner.
Mhm.
I'm my parents' third child. I am coming out of high school. I don't think college is necessary. Then how am I going to get to that economic level where I'm able to, because my house is already paid for. My parents, is a 30-year mortgage. It's
Mhm.
already paid for. But I still have to be able to pay the taxes. I still have to be able to renovate it, make repairs when necessary. All of those things, just like with a car, can be a large ticket item, depending on when they happen, how you detect them. So if college is not part of the equation, what is being suggested to the child?
I think so. When I mean by colleges, I won't say college is not adjusted. I mean like college, trade. It doesn't matter what you do. That's social mobility. You're gonna move up socially in the ladder. It doesn't matter if you go to trade school, college. Those are just jobs. That's cool. But equity, if you want to get equity, we have to own. So you can
But
have
own
a job.
requires money. Own
Yeah, that all
requires
requires
money.
money.
So how
So
does that happen?
ownership is you can have less. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Do you buy property? Do you have good credit? Are you saving? There are people that have trades jobs that make a lot of money and they go buy
Right.
their first property and they go buy their other property and they live up the property. But the point of equity is taking that one house, like, okay, I bought this one house. I have inside the house, I have equity out the house. I could take the house, take that equity, go buy another property. You can monopolize that, play around with that because you have one thing, you have something to leverage. That's what I mean by that. But I'm not telling you that children don't need to go to college or trade school. Go to those things. Definitely do that. That's going to move you up social mobility. But we need wealth in our community. Honestly, we have to own our community. I was at a call earlier today, and I was with a bunch of Black developers. Fun fact, Black real estate developers. And the conversation is about economic prosperity and about ownership in the conversation. These are Black developers. I'm a real estate developer too. How do we push that for our people? How are we building affordable home ownership for our people that they can own the community? How are we making not even just the houses? How do the buildings, the stores are their owners? How do we make sure that they get that? So I think it deals with, you're right, it does deal with education to a certain degree, but it deals with financial literacy. Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Hey, etc. Do you know about credit? These are all things that we can get for free. Not all things we get free, but there are trainings on financial literacy. There's a bunch of financial literacy training courses that people have that our students can use. But that's deals with, that our students can use. Most kids that know this are business majors in college or grad schools. I mean, business majors in college, but people don't know. Usually their parents teach them this. But if their parents don't know, but this generation, there are a lot of, especially based on internet access, a lot of financial literacy courses that can teach you these things. Janet, not Janice.
I said I wasn't going to make any more comments, but you are such a wealth of information. Do you have a podcast?
No, this is just a lot of research I just did for grad school. And I did a lot of research with the firm.
I think you need a podcast because you can reach a generation that I think it was Miss Blackwell or Ron Perry. You can reach a generation that can really understand what's going on, because I do agree a lot of the younger people are interested in just selling these houses and they don't really realize the value. Someone comes along and offers them 100,000 and they're thinking, oh, I can get some sneakers or a car. They don't realize that where are they going to live? And, they got to pay taxes on that 100,000 cash in the bag. So I think you need a podcast.
True. You would reach a wide range of people with the vast information that you have, and it's required. A lot of these kids are not so much listening to their parents because right now we have those baby boomers that had the babies. So you had babies raising babies, and the adults now are those once a time babies, and it's a real tough nut to crack, but information is the key.
Yes, it is. Information is the key. The right information is the key. I think that's really important.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank
Are
you.
there any additional questions or comments that we have for Gabriel tonight?
Yes,
Diane?
yes, I have a comment. Excuse me, Mr. Jameson, you did a wonderful job with your presentation, very informative. I kind of think that it all needs to start in the school systems. Okay, our children go to school every day, during a certain year, certain time of the year. And I think that economics it needs to be taught in the school system and not wait until they get to be of a certain age where they come out of school. It needs to start very early. So I think that you need to have a lot more than just the parents. I think that they need to learn in school about what taxes are, because all of those kind of things can affect, even if you have a parent who have a home. And if you have a home and you want to put the home in your child's name or your older adult's name, you have to make sure that their credit is good. You have to make sure that they don't owe any taxes, whether it be federal or state city tax, because all of that will affect the home ownership if you were to transfer the property. I think now that when you transfer property to your children, you also have to transfer property within a certain time frame. So I think that part of the problem in terms of home ownership is that young people are not educated in terms of economic wealth the way that they should be. That's my opinion. Other than that, thank you for the information that you've given. And I'm going to be one of the ones that's going to ask for, the information that you submitted or the information that you gave us. I will probably be asking the board for a copy of your presentation. It was very, very, very informative. Thank you.
Diane, I think I would sit there and say you are right about what you said. I think it's really, if you think about affluent communities, and that's what I was saying earlier, even with the credit thing, this is all about systemic. This is a lot deals with education. Look at communities that are way more affluent. What's the name? Those children are learning this already. I remember when I went to school in Pennsylvania, just a fun fact, I went to school in Pennsylvania for a little bit. We took a class on this type of stuff. When I was in New York City, we never took classes on this in low-income neighborhoods. We don't take classes. Even my friend in grad school, she comes from money. She said she learned this when she was in high school, even though her parents already come from money, but she learned this. Their school teach them this in those communities. In our communities, we're not taught this in our schools. So I think you are right. It's about curriculum reform. How do we reform our curriculum? Asking Eric, I'm not Eric Adam, Eric, Anthony Reynoso, and trying to really put together how do we advocate to change our curriculum in school and make sure that it be more inclusive around economics in low-income communities, because that's another, honestly, like you said before, without education, how are we ever going to change these things? A lot of things that have been passed that have been historically wrong is because we never had the proper education. If we had education, we wouldn't be in these issues right now.
Mm-hmm. I do want to ask one other question. You're absolutely right. I do want to ask another question, if you don't mind.
Hold on, one moment, Diane.
Next is
Blackwell.
Dante, he had his hand up. He wanted to say something.
No, I was just applauding the statement about the curriculum.
Oh, you were clapping hands.
I was clapping, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you, though.
Okay, Diane, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask another question. What and how our counterparts, I want to know what programs are available for white people that their children are trying to gain home ownership and all of that. What programs do they have, and why is it such a big gap between home ownership? I mean, I know that it's racism. I know that's the #1 reason. But what programs are in effect for them? I mean, are they able to use this program, the Black Home Ownership Project, or is this just for Black people?
That's a good question. I really don't see we cannot discriminate against no one, but this is really for Black people, to be honest, but you cannot discriminate against people at all. Anyone can use anything. But that's a really good question, what you sat there and said, you know, what's the difference? And I don't really think it's a white thing. I don't know. I don't want to say it's white. I don't want to say it's race or class. I think it's really about, it's a lack of knowledge. Like we said before, there is a lack of knowledge behind this. Information. Where we're not being in certain thing. Just like, how can I sit there and say, what's that saying that they say in Black communities, in my community, about you don't know what you don't know. Like but you do know something, but you don't know it because you don't have the missing piece. What I learned today, this semester in school, it's something that I did not learn last semester. And I'm like, oh, wow, this was a piece that I was missing that I did not know. And that's a lot of time in our community, because honestly, people that have information don't tell you information. They're not going, they don't want to share information because they don't want you to be, what this comes down to, no one wants you to be equal to them. Someone has to, no offense, someone's have to oppress the other group. No one can, you know, they don't want you to be equal. Even though we could combat these things through education, jobs, and all these things, but really we have to push. And honestly, and this is why I learned today when I was at the conference, and my partner was at the conference, was we need to push more economic prosperity in our community. You know, we talk about equality, but forget our equality. It's really about economics. Honestly, that's the real race we're fighting right now. We're racing economic justice. How do we don't want, you know, we talk about schools, because when you say equality means, oh, you got schools, I got schools. You got schools in Brownsville, you got schools in Flatbush, but the schools in Brownsville, Flatbush are not the schools in the Upper West Side. You see what I'm saying? So it's about quality over quantity. Like, yeah, we all got it, but we all know the kids in Brownsville can't read. We know the kids in Flatbush can't read, but the kids in, what's the name, in the Upper West Side are learning algebra at the age of 2. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You're like, quality over quantity. Like, so it's like economic. This is a fight about wealth, and it's about economics and making sure that our people are ahead of the game. Like I said before, the wealth gap in our community is one white household worth 171,000. It's one white household. Black household, 17,000. 17, that's bad. And all these years. And then we also gotta give ourselves grace, because I also learned today, when you think about even my generation, because I'm younger, we gotta think about a lot of issues that happen to Black people, and a lot of systemic issues and just trauma that have been passed down. You gotta think about this generation, we all are suffering from, we're post-civil rights. My generation is post-civil rights, so I am a lot more freer compared to what my parents have. I have a lot more knowledge that my parents never even had, and I'm grateful for it. But you know, you gotta put things in context, historic context. Some people was not; they didn't have the liberty. I'm way more freer, so I have the liberty. You know, and then it's just like a simpler way of saying this is like women in this generation have way more freedom compared to women back in that generation. Disabled people, I'm a disabled person. A disabled person from generation back in the day, they throw people in dungeons. Now I'm a disabled person that go to college. We're from different generations. We have way more opportunity than we had before, but we have to really push. This generation has to be, I think, this generation that fights for economic inclusion, honestly, and justice, honestly, because that's what it comes down to. It's all about economics. It's not about race. It is about race. A lot of it does with race, but it's about economics.
Okay. Thank you, Gabriel.
Yeah, thank you.
For your generosity and giving us information, for sharing your presentation and allowing us to come back to you if we think of any additional questions.
Yes, thank you. I will be emailing Dante earlier today. To later, right now. Honestly, I'm going to be sending the survey and the presentation to him right now.
May I also invite you to, on June 4th, we're going to be having, CB9 is going to be having housing. I
will be there.
Okay. Because
yes,
the housing is going to be doing a table, but I think it's important. For you to present here is great, but to present in the community fair and to present to the broader board, not because you have something to vote on. Sometimes presentations need to be made just for information. And I'm going to put that when we go to the executive committee. If you're okay with that, I'm going to ask if we can have you just to present for just general information, because we're talking about Black ownership and it's all facets of home ownership. So if
Yeah,
that's okay with you, you
No,
know.
I'm definitely okay with it. Along with Dante telling me, I tell my supervisor because they want me to do things like this. I'm
Okay,
I'm
and
just telling them,
tabling at our community fair,
yes,
which
definitely.
is
Yeah, I will
June
have
4th.
flyers. I will have
Okay,
flyers.
thank you. And then people can stop and talk to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
If everybody else is good, we're gonna say good night to Gabriel and thank him again. Everyone's good?
Thank you,
Yes.
Gabriel. And God bless you. You have a big heart.
Thank you, Gabriel. Have a good
Have a good
night.
day,
Have a
everyone.
good evening.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. Take care.
Take care.
So, guys, I thought that was a really nice presentation. I hope you feel the same way. With the next couple minutes that we have, has anyone or everyone been working on the affordable housing virtual forum that is going to be coming up? We haven't, even though I reached out to Community Board 8 and ULURP committee, no one's gotten back to us in regards to wanting to be partners. Community Board 8, their housing meeting is the same day as ours, but they did not respond as to whether they wanted to be partners in the affordable housing fair. So may I suggest, and you guys tell me what you think, is that we move on alone without a partner, but we also tonight, if we can think of other entities that we want to add to the affordable housing, because I've reached out to Mitchell-Lama and HPD, and I'm waiting for them. We've spoken, but I'm waiting for them to confirm. And what date, because that's one thing we haven't done, because we thought we were going to have partners. What date are we looking at? Of course, it was going to be a Wednesday. It was going to be 6 to 8. We remember those things that we voted on, but do we have a date? Which Wednesday? Team housing, are we thinking?
Didn't we say June 8th?
We said June 8th for the virtual affordable housing forum. We did?
No. No, my mistake, sorry.
It's okay, Blackwell. Team housing, did we think of a date? Nicholas? Wendy? Shlomo?
Well,
Nice to
so
have you
can
in
we-
the room.
hi, Bev. Can we suggest a couple of dates that probably will be, you know, for
Sure,
everyone?
sure. So we have to pick Wednesday dates because those are the things we voted on already. So what dates are we looking at? I'm not looking at a calendar, so I'm gonna be reliant on you guys to know which dates are Wednesday's dates.
Maybe the 8th or the 15th, June
The 8th
8th.
of May?
I thought you said June. You wanted to do this in June because
June.
May.
Yeah, you have 5 Wednesdays in June.
Okay,
Yeah.
June 8th or June, what's the other
June
day?
8th or the 15th, you know, because June is that graduation time for June? When is
Yeah,
graduation?
Right, the 15th is not good, Bev.
Okay, so
Okay.
then maybe the week before, like the 8th, maybe the 8th of June, something like
The
that.
8th or 22nd.
22nd, that's summertime. That's when
The
people
8th
will
is the
probably be
same
moving
day
kids
as the
to
major
camp and things
Owens,
like that.
thing.
one voice. Diane, finish your sentence.
Say that again?
Finish your sentence. You said
I
that's
was saying
probably
that
when?
if it's after the 15th, you know, people are probably like around the 22nd, people are probably taking, you know, their young children camping or, you know, visiting because it's summertime. So
And Blackwell,
they're
what did you
usually
say?
going away. So I think anytime before the 15th would be good.
And Blackwell, what did you say?
I just said the major Owens housing is June 8th. The walk.
Right. Thank you. I thought that date sounded familiar. Thank you.
That's why I had that date in my head.
Thank you. I knew it was something.
Yeah, I just want you to see, you know, you doubling up on the same.
Right. No. It's good. Just FYI, everyone. We have gotten confirmation from the Major R. Owens. I should say the Bedford Union Armory, because the Major R. Owens is the recreation center. Our next meeting is going to be in the facility, in the Armory facility, and we are going to be touring the apartments. So
Nice.
if you're able to show up, please make sure you send an email to the community board and myself, because they need to know how many people are going to be present. But show the address to the meeting is going to be 1561 Bedford Avenue. And when you go in, they'll show you to the meeting room. So everyone who's in the room now, who's part of the housing committee, please make sure you submit your name to both of us, letting us know that you're going to be available, that you're going to be coming. Because if we're going to do tours, we need to know how many are going to be present. So, and hopefully we're gonna see each apartment size, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. Is there a studio, Yanela?
Yep.
Okay, so hopefully we'll be able to see one of each one. And so you can see what they look like. Okay, so that's how, June 8th.
June 8th. Oh, wow.
That's the second Wednesday in June, right? And it's going to be 7 to 8:30, like our regular meeting. We tried to stay in there so no one has to make additional plans.
But the 15th is our regular meeting at the Armory, the advisory committee. That would be the third Wednesday.
Oh, the 15th. Okay. Okay, that's why the 15th is a no.
They're not
Okay,
looking
got
good
it.
in June.
Yeah.
So, well, the 8th is when we're doing the tour.
Right.
Okay. The 15th is when we're doing the advisory committee.
Right.
Okay, so that's a conflict.
It's either going to be first, the 22nd, or the 29th.
The 29th is when school's out. That may be a problem. And you said the 22nd. When did somebody say the 22nd is when people start going on vacation? But you know what we're asking for? We're asking we're asking committee members if they are available. That's really who we're asking. We're asking if they're available to show up and interested in doing a tour of the apartment. So, and there are how many of us? 8? There are 8 of us.
There are 10 people online now.
Okay, so there are 10 of us. Let's just say everyone chooses to go. No. There are 10 minus
9,
Dante.
9 of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are 9 of us. So these individuals who are currently in the room, those are the ones that we would like for them to check their calendars, see if you're available on, what date is that? The 22nd? Guys?
The 22nd.
22nd, yes.
Right, because that's the only date that doesn't have a conflict. The 15th has a conflict. The what's the
22nd.
The 8th has a conflict. So the 22nd is the only one that we're concerned about, that because people will be going away for the summer. But if everybody in the room has it available on their calendar, please check your calendar and raise your hand now if you see a conflict, if you see an immediate conflict for June 22nd. Does anyone in this room see an immediate conflict for June 22nd?
No, not for me.
No.
Janice, Nicholas?
And Dante, have you done the tour?
No, I have not done the tour.
Will you be joining us?
I will be present.
Okay, Shalom?
Thank you.
Are you going
Yeah.
to the tour for the 22nd?
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay, great. Wendy? Does the
Yes,
22nd?
I'll be available.
Sounds good. So please, everyone pencil that in your calendar. We'll be looking at the apartments. First, our meeting will be at 1561 Bedford Avenue. And as part of the meeting, we'll be touring at least 3 apartments on the property, okay?
What's the address again? I'm sorry, Beverly.
1561 Bedford Avenue.
561. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. So 1 second is, oh guys, I'm sorry. I'm getting them mixed up. June 8th.
I was waiting for you to look at
Jeez.
that.
The 22nd is when we're trying to do the virtual thing. The 8th is when we're doing the
Do the
tour.
walk, yes.
Dang. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Is everybody available, the same people? Are we available on the 8th as well?
Yes, I am. Wendy's available.
Okay, thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome.
Joni, yes.
And
Yeah,
Nicholas.
the 8th is good, Shlomo here, yes.
Okay, Shlomo, thank you. So everyone else who's available for the 22nd is also available for the 8th?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because
Guys,
the
I'm sorry about
22nd
that.
is virtual, right?
Right. The 22nd is going to be the virtual affordable housing
And
event.
the 8th is in person.
Yes, the
There you
8th is in person. Guys, I'm sorry about that. All right. Does anybody have any suggestions about who else we can invite? Because right now we're looking at HPD, we're looking at Mitchell-Lama, we're trying to get someone to speak on the housing lottery in Section 8. So are there any other affordable housing components that someone has suggested that we talk about tenants' rights? And are there any other suggestions we're having in regards to that? Someone has in regards to that?
Just remember to add Gabriel to your list for that day.
Yes. Okay. Do you guys agree that Gabriel will be a good component for our community fair as well?
He could speak to a lot of people as long as we have a good outcome. That would be useful information to provide. And he said he would bring flyers.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Any other suggestions for our virtual fair, our virtual event? No. Do we have any suggestions on what our setup would look like at the fair on June 4th?
I have a suggestion, Beverly, for an organization. Maybe the Urban Homesteading Assistance Board.
You have?
Yeah, you have.
In what aspect?
Well, I know that they work with rent stabilized and low income cooperative homeowners. And since at least tonight, the presentation was really focused on cooperatives, I know that they give, I think, low interest loans to help people, purchase the upfront cost to get cooperatives. So that might be of something, that might be an organization that could give, at least folks who are interested in, pursuing that type of housing, at least financial options.
And you're suggesting them for the fair or for the virtual event?
For the virtual event.
Okay, I'll reach out and see if they have someone available see if they're interested, number one, and if they have someone available, number two. Does anybody else have any suggestions in regards to the fair and or the event?
So how about NHS? I know they talk a lot about first-time homebuyer grant. Is that something you would like to include?
We can. But NHS and you have kind of do the same thing.
Okay.
So is there an organization of preference?
I know NHS, but that's
NHS.
why.
Right, I know them both. I know them both. So, I tell you what, we'll do it this way. We'll reach out to the both of them, whoever's available. Yay! That's the one we'll bring. How about that?
That sounds good.
Okay, because duplication of information is kind of duplication of information. Sorry. So thank you for that suggestion. Is there anything else? Any other suggestions we have for the fair and or the virtual event?
Is it possible for us to get, and Dante, you may chime in as you see fit as well, Beverly, I know. Is there any way we could do like a flyer, a sheet with information about and criteria for qualifying for maybe say the affordable housing or a co-op, or information where they could go seek, like if you'd like to get a super in say HCR, what the criterias are.
Elaborate on that, please.
Say I am, you have to put in an application based on the development that you're looking at. Some development may be closed, so where can you find that information? So I'm looking for co-ops, say on the HCR. I'll go and look on their list, and some you can see the ones that are not currently taking new admission because they're closed, and the ones that are open. And the
So
ones
what we
that are
can
open,
do,
the criteria to apply.
so what we can do is ask the entities who cover that area to bring that information, and that way we know we aren't we don't have to be concerned about missing something, because that's
Right.
their area of expertise. So if we ask HCR or NH or HPD, because that's the area that they operate under too, ask them to bring information in the area, then we don't have to be concerned about leaving something out or saying something that's incorrect. So we can ask them to do that.
Right, so that we have information, because if
Yeah.
we're, have information for, people who may be interested in,
Right.
trying to sign up or trying to look for housing.
That makes sense. And this is for the virtual event, correct? Or the fair?
It could be for both.
Okay, got it. Sounds good. So Dante, that means if we do it like that, your virtual event, will people be able to place information in the chat and the attendees be able to pull it from there?
Possibly. Let's see. Possibly, yeah. I'll have to work with the staff to figure out the best way for everyone to be able to obtain the information.
Right.
It really depends on how much information they're also disseminating. But yeah, let me speak to the team, and then we can circle back.
We just want to make it as easy for the attendees as possible.
Yeah, of
because
course.
I find that when people have to come back to an entity to get the information that they desired at the moment that it was occurring, a lot of people don't do that. So if we can open that up, because if they're able to attend a virtual event, they're able to pull it from the chat. So if we're able to do that, that would be great.
Understood.
Okay, thank you. Any other suggestions? These are great, guys. Thanks. Any other suggestions? No? Ideas?
I know the lottery is out there, and I know there are entities that are, educating and sort of getting people prepared. Dante, have we done that? We haven't done anything like that in CB9, have we, Bev? Currently?
No,
I know,
but there is a lottery, and I signed up for it. There is a lottery presentation being done by Housing Court Answers. I can't remember,
right,
but it's happening either tomorrow tomorrow.
But is that something you want to have the information?
You mean
like
the lottery?
By making people ready, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Getting,
because if you're going to be a homeowner, you need to be not only, if you want to be a homeowner, you need to position yourself accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So Dante, any info on that? I know we did that a while back because that was something a long time ago that we did when I think.
So are you looking to do like an event / workshop, or is this information like that needs to be disseminated to individuals?
So one of the entities that's going to show up, I think it's HPD. They've been asked to present information and recording regarding the lottery. And so we're going to ask them, can they talk? Because they're asking us what aspect of it. So we can include getting people prepped for. Is that what you're thinking, Yanela?
Correct.
Okay, we can ask them to do that because they're asking us what aspect of. Okay.
Yeah. We can do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other suggestions? Team housing, any other suggestions? So once we get all of these locked down, hopefully in the next couple of days, or sorry, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to distribute them to all of our people, because all of us have email lists, and we all know someone who's either looking for a house or a cooperative or a condo, and this information to be valuable for them. So, and if you don't have a list, think about who you want to send it to anyway. All of us have a group of people that we are trying to keep in the loop. Okay. Do we have any other questions, any other concerns, anything else?
Did we do anything to include senior housing?
You know what? I didn't think about that. Does anyone in the room have a contact for senior housing?
No, I guess you could like Googling.
I'm sorry?
There are so many different ones.
So all of us have housing contacts. So let's reach out to our housing contact and ask, can they talk about senior housing? How does it work? How to access it? How old do people have to be? What are some of the qualifications? So most of us inside of the housing committee have housing contacts. So can we reach out to those in the next couple of days? Whoever identifies someone first, start the thread, and the rest of us will chime in. Is everyone in the room okay with that?
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Great. Okay. So I'm assuming everyone else is okay, which is great. So we'll start with that because that's one thing that we haven't really discussed, and we really need to, especially as our communities grow older. Anything else? That's a good idea, Blackwell. Thanks. Anything else? No? Well, the time now is 8:30. Any other suggestions? We opened up the meeting with a very good presentation. We have quite a few members here today. And thank you all for showing up and for coming. Do we have any old business? Because we kind of got taken away with the housing presentation, the homeowners presentation. Is there any old business that people any old business that people think needs to be addressed, but we haven't already? We've done the forum, we've done the virtual house tour, stuff like that. Anything else? Is there anything that anyone thinks that we need to put on our agenda for the future? Because now we have a housing tour for the Armory. We have a virtual affordable housing event. We have the CB9 fair. Gosh, guys, we have a lot going on, don't we? But more immediately, we are going to reach out to see if someone can help us inform seniors about senior housing, or maybe not just seniors, just people who are moving towards that stage of life. Or maybe we're trying to help our parents or whatever. So that's one of the things we're going to start the thread with that. So is there anything else that people feel that we need to discuss in this room today or add on the calendar for the future? Okay, so I'm gonna assume, as they say, hearts and minds are clear. And I want to thank everyone for showing up today and participating. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna say good night. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Night.
Thank you. Good night.
All right.
Good night.